morning. I'm Dr. Nemechek of the Nemechek Protocol, and today I want to talk to you about emotional traumas. As I've said in my, I've got my vagal stimulator on. Sorry. As I've said in my posts and videos about autonomic dysfunction, autonomic trauma actually damages the brain. And in our animal models, we're now able to show directly microscopic evidence of damage in the brain. We're showing dysfunction in human tissues in a way indirectly you can't really get in, somebody say with emotional trauma. You can't go in and biopsy the brain, obviously. So we're understanding more and more that these intense and intensely negative emotional traumas can actually damage your brain. So in adults, I commonly talk of broken heart syndrome. It's one of the best understood examples. This is where grandma dies and then grandpa dies in a couple days. We're now understanding that grandpa's intense grief causes significant damage through his autonomic nervous system, to the sympathetic branch in particular, and he ends up dying of an unusual form of heart failure called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, otherwise known as broken heart syndrome. And it's a very unique kind of heart failure. We can now identify it on certain kind of x-rays and echocardiogram studies and things of that sort. So we're learning more and more this can happen. You can take animals, and if you take an animal, hold its predator right up to it a couple times, and then examine their brains, you can show these animals now are exhibiting kind of damage to the cells. Now, it's different damage than if you smash your head into the windshield. There, the neurons snap, okay? In emotional traumas, or what I like to call an emotional concussion, the neuron remains intact. It doesn't snap, but with the organelles within, like the endoplasmic reticulum and the mitochondria, suffer damage and the cell doesn't work properly, okay? A common example of an emotional trauma is simple common depression, okay? You have an intensely negative event, you get a phone call, a loved one has just suddenly passed away. It kind of sucks. The moments, that do this are the ones that suck the oxygen out of the room, and your symptoms of depression are actually occurring because you're damaging part of the brain, okay? Part of the brain called the hippocampus. That's where you control your emotions. Now, if things work right, the depression goes away, the physical nature of things, and you'll still grieve for people. That's a separate issue, but the depression goes away. So in adults, we'll see this emotional traumas as one of the things that can actually compound our cumulative brain injury. And so in adults, it can be things like bankruptcy, divorce, a car sliding on ice and you think you're going to die, just all sorts of things, being held at gunpoint. We've had several of those people. Wartime, combat experiences, okay? These things damage the brain, all right? And they will, if you have bacterial overgrowth and substantial neuroinflammation, you can't fully repair that, and that's where you start getting that cumulative brain injury slowly growing throughout the brain. And the injuries from emotional traumas are not just kind of restricted to the hippocampus, the emotional area of our brains. They can damage all sorts of parts of the brain, okay? They certainly cause damage to the autonomic nervous system, and that's what I was talking about with grandpa and Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. Children will experience these too, but it's a little bit different. You have to kind of think about it through a child's eyes, all right? When they're very young, mom and dad, you are their life source, okay? There's water, oxygen, and mom and dad from a primitive level is what keeps these kids alive. And so their traumas could be separation. It could be divorce of the parents. It could be the dog dies. It could be grandpa passes away. It could be, heck, I even think with some young children, potentially if, mom goes down to the basement to get something and is there maybe, 10 minutes longer than she thought she'd be, and comes up and the kid might have been terrified that they were abandoned. And I can see that potentially causing problems. Certainly a very, very powerful one is bullying. Bullying causes devastating brain injury in all the adult cases we see, and significant in kids as well. And then obviously, if you have child abuse, molestation, those kind of things, significant brain damage. So emotional traumas, very, very real. All right, there is basically as damaging as smashing your head into the windshield, and but we're designed to fully recover within a few weeks to a couple months at most. If you don't recover, that's a sign you more likely have this inflammatory process in the brain. That's a combination of the gut bacteria overgrowing and deficiency of DHA, omega-3. You need some olive oil to block the vegetable oils in the food supply. And for basically folks over 35, 40, somewhere in that neighborhood, as you get over, to fully recover, we use the vagus nerve stimulator, like I forgot to take off right here. So that's it for today. This is Dr. Nemechek, the Nemechek Protocol in Buckeye, Arizona. Have a great weekend. Take care now. Bye.